Hello friends and welcome to a mobile tutorial. I'm actually in a hotel room somewhere in the United States and was kind of bored, so I figured I would make a tutorial. I had some comments from one person who was trying to figure out several different things, and one of those things was scene transitions. And scene transitions with VRF can be kind of a pain in the butt. But we're going to go over a setup that I've come up with to where you'll have very few errors, where you won't have any errors, sorry. And what that basically revolves around is the fact that uh, most of the stuff that you'll read on scene transitions is all based around creating a singleton, which is where when you return to another scene, there's two of the players, so you have to search out the other one and destroy the other one. Well, the solution is not to create a singleton at all. And the trick is just to keep your player uh, moving through scenes, but to have their very first start point be a place they can never return to. So if you notice, I started in a scene and I haven't returned to it. So you would start them there, it would load your XR rig, it would load everything up the way it's supposed to be, and you would just carry that into the next scene, and then you can go back and forth and transition to any scene back and forth that you want to without all the errors and all the headache and all the rewriting of the scripts. So let's jump right in. Okay, so I've got a brand new scene set up. I've already imported the VRIF framework, VNG framework, and I'm just in the sample scene. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a couple of scenes. So go into scenes. Here's our sample scene. Just go to File, Save As, and we're going to go into Scenes, and we'll save this as Start Scene. Okay. Now that we're in Start Scene, go ahead and delete the main camera, and we're going to put a ground down, so we need a plane. We'll call it ground. And let's go ahead and size it up a little bit. Let's double its size. 2 on all sides. And we need a cube. So 3D object, cube. Raise it up. When it's perfect, you can put it on 0. Doesn't really matter. We're going to use this as a trigger to do our scene transitions. Go into assets, go into VNG framework, go to your prefabs, and go to doors. And we'll use the door with handle. Put it right here somewhere. Bring this over, put it to where you'll walk right into it when you open the door. That works. Okay. Now go into VNG framework, go to prefabs, go to player, grab your rig, pull him up so he doesn't fall through the ground. Okay, and then if we want to check and make sure that our UI is working, which is what the biggest problem is, go to your prefabs, search for keyboard, VR keyboard, and then set the rotation to 0. He's got it tilted. It's just easier to move it around. Bring it up to where we can see it and we can point at it before we go through the door to make sure everything's working. Okay, that's our basic setup. So what I want to do is, before I start making the other scenes, is clear that out. Go into your VNG framework, go into your scenes. This is the easiest way to get this. You could just pull this into and create it, but this is something that I do just to save myself time a lot of times. Let's go and grab your event system, copy it, and then go back to your scenes and go back to your start scene and then paste it. There you go. Boom, there's our event system with our UI. So we want this to not get destroyed when we move scenes. So we're going to take this and we're going to make it a child of the XR rig so it moves with us and it won't get destroyed. Now let's go ahead and create our other scenes. So let's file, save as, and we'll call this scene 1. I do have permission. Sure, I'll replace it. Okay, so now we're in scene 1. So go ahead and take your XR rig and delete it. You don't need it in this scene. Go ahead and take your door and your cube. We're just going to move them over. Matter of fact, I'm going to make this easier. Make the cube a child of the door. That way they move together. Let's move it over here somewhere. And rotate it. Now, a little tip on this is your screen transitions, when you transition from one scene to the other, you want to kind of stick to this, because if you have it transition to, say, if you come out of scene 1 and you go to scene 2, and then you go, downhill in scene 2, and then you have a transition back to scene 1, when it puts you in scene 1, it's going to put you in the exact same position that you were in scene 2. So when you're in scene 1, you're going to fall through the ground, you're going to start falling. You got to be mindful of that when you're doing scene transitions, that when you transition to the next scene, your player is going to be in the exact same position X, Y, and Z as you were in the previous scene. So be mindful of that. Anyway. Okay, so this is our first setup for this scene. Let's grab our keyboard. Let's just drag them over. That way we can make sure everything's still working. Okay. Now, file, save as, and we'll call this scenes. We'll call this scene 2. Save. I am the administrator. Okay, I will. Why my laptop does that. One of these days I'll sit there and figure it out. Okay, now we're in scene 2. So just grab your cube. Oops. I'll pull it out for a second so I can just move the cube. So pull the cube to the other side, leaving the door in the exact same spot. So when you transition from scene to scene, when you walk through, your door will be in the same spot. So if you got a place to shop, you walk in, it switches scenes, you can shop, and you walk back out, and the door's in the same spot. So just keep your door in the same spot. Okay. Now, so we can tell the difference between all these scenes, let's create some materials. So go create material. We'll call this scene 2 material. Okay, we'll throw that down there. Our ground. Make it a different color. Make it a nice pink color. There we go. Okay. Go back to let's go back to our scenes. We're in scene 2, so let's go back to scene 1. Okay, there we go. Create a new material. Call this scene 1 material. Drag that, drop it on, and click on the ground. Make it I don't know, make it a green. Okay. And we'll go. Now go back to scenes. Back to our start scene. Okay. Assets, create a new material. Call this start scene material. Put that on there. Ground, maybe. And we'll make it, I don't know, a yellow, I guess. Okay. Okay, so now let's just check our scenes to make sure that we've gotten rid of everything in each scene. So this is our start scene, and here's where our VR rig is going to be. And make sure that we have our event system as a child. I think I already messed up. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, event system as a child of the XR rig. So in our start scene, we're going to have our event system as a child of our XR rig. So now let's go to our scenes, go to scene 1, save. Scene 1, we can go ahead and delete the XR rig, and then make sure we've got everything. Yep, we're good there. Go into our scene 2, save, and okay, we're good. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is we need to go up to File, go to Build Settings. We need to add these scenes. So let's go ahead and let's just start at the bottom. If you get out of order too quick, you can get confused real quick as to which scene you're in. So we're in the start scene. The File, go to Build Settings, Add Open Scene, Close, go to Scene 1, go to File, Build Settings, Add Open Scene, go to Scene 2, File, Build Settings, Add Open Scene. Okay, so now all the scenes are added. Okay, so now let's go back to our scene. Where do we want to start at? Let's start in our start scene. Okay, click on your cube, make it a trigger. Okay, now we're going to create 3 scripts. I've already got them in here because I don't have dual monitors. And remembering this stuff would be crazy. So anyway, so the first one we're going to create is called Don't Destroy. Now, I've left a commented section out in this, and this is an example of a singleton. So if you added this to say a gun, and you tagged your gun obj tag equals r tag. So if you just tagged your object and you uncommented this stuff out, and you put this on that gun, when you went to one scene and you came back, it would look for the other gun and it would destroy it. So I've left that in there for an example. All you really need is the stuff that's not commented out. Now the reason that this is on an I enumerator is because the line renderer on your XR rig is a child of the XR rig until the game starts, and then it's no longer a child of the XR rig. And what was happening is that the line renderer was getting destroyed. So by adding a wait for seconds on start, it sees the line renderer as not a child, and you can only use a don't destroy on a parent object. You can't use it on children. So I put this wait time in there so that it has time for the line renderer to not be a child anymore, and then it sees it as not a child, and then it will allow it to not be destroyed. So that's why this is on a wait for seconds. Otherwise, you wouldn't need this at all. You can just put don't destroy on load. So yeah, that's basically what this does. This is this little string, this little function right here. Just you put this on your object, and you can carry it from scene to scene, and it won't destroy it. Simple enough. I'll make the scripts available for download like I usually do. You don't have to type everything out. Okay, so let's go into Unity, and we want to put this on our XR rig, and then open it up. Find my line renderer. Let's see. Line renderer. And you also want to put it on your line renderer. Because when this thing pops out and it's no longer a child, it needs its own script to say don't destroy this. So any object that you don't want to destroy on load, put this on. In this example, we're only doing it for the XR rig and the line renderer. Okay, second one is our load scene triggers. So here's load scene 1. At the very top, you need Unity Engine.Scene Management. This is what allows you to load the scenes and deal with the scenes. You need using BNG. At the top, I have a public grabbable handle. This is the handle on the door, the grabbable on the handle on the door. You need your right grabber as a game object and your left grabber as a game object. And then you need a private grabber, R grabber, which is the grabber on the right grabber, and then grabber, L grabber, which is the grabber on the left grabber object. And the reason we got to do it this way is because when you transition from scene to scene, it's got to be able to find the grabbers. So you use find with tag right grabber and find with tag left grabber. So we're going to tag our grabbers, right grabber and left grabber. And then once we find them as game objects, we can then get the component grabber. And the reason we're doing this is we're going to tell the grabber if the handle is being held when we hit the trigger, we're going to tell it to drop the handle. And the reason being is if you're still holding the handle and you walk into the trigger, your hand gets destroyed. So by doing this, if the handle's being held, so if they're still holding it when they hit the trigger, it's going to check the left and right grabbers, and it's going to drop the handle before it transitions to the next scene. So down here on the on trigger enter, it's going to run let go. So it's going to see if it's holding the handle, and then it's going to let it go. And then it's going to run the scene manager load scene, and it's going to load our scene 1. Okay, so go back into Unity, take load scene 1, scene are we in? We're on the start scene. Take load scene 1, put it on the cube. Okay. You don't need to, I've got this here for debugging. Matter of fact, we'll just go ahead and fix it. I had that there for debugging so I could make sure that it was doing what I wanted it to do. Okay. Yep, already made the other one. Okay, so back into Unity. Okay, so the only thing that we have to assign is the handle off the door. It's grabbable. So go down to your door, come down here, and you'll see when we open up handle, there's a handle grabbable. So click on your cube, grab your grabbable, and put it right there. And again, make sure that your trigger is set to trigger on your block collider. Okay. Now, let's go into scene 2. Let's go over to scenes, go to scene 2. Scene 2, we're going to need a new script. It's called load scene 2. Load scene 2 is exactly the same thing all the way down the line that I just explained. The only difference is it says scene 2. So if you look at scene 1, we have scene 1. So we're going to load scene 1 on trigger. And this one, we're going to load scene 2 on trigger. It takes a string by name. This name has to be exactly the same name as your scene name. So we're going to take that, grab our cube, take our load scene 2, put it on our cube, and again we need our handle from our door, our grabbable. So grab that, put that there. Now let's go into scene 3. So go to scenes. Oh, no, there is no scene 3. Scene 1, scene 2. Make sure we got everything. Scene 1. Oh, okay, that's what I skipped on. Okay, on scene 1, go over, grab our load scene 2. I think I did that backwards. See what I mean? When you're working with multiple scenes, you can get confused. Okay, so we're on scene 1, load scene 2. So we got to do our grabbable. The door handle, grabbable, right there. File, save. So we're in scene 1. We're going to scene 2. So now let's go back to our scenes, go to scene 2. This one should be scene 1, but I think I put the wrong script on there. Yep. Remove component. We're going to go load scene 1 because we want to go back to scene 1. So go back to your door, handle, handle grabbable, cube, your handle grabbable. Okay. Takes a lot of checking back and forth when you're doing this. So let's go back into scenes. Let's go back into our start scene. Check this, make sure it says scene 1, scene 1, scene 2. Should say scene going to scene 1. Yep, we're going back to scene 1. And then our scene 1, click on it. Yep, we're going to scene 2 from scene 1, from scene 1 to scene 2. Okay, so we're good there. Go back to your start scene. Go to your XR rig. Find, no, I'll make sure that I put that on the line renderer, and I did. Okay. Okay, so now we need to tag our grabbers. So let's go to player controller. Would use the Alt key here, but it always throws out so much stuff that I can't. Let's go to our tags. Tags. We're going to add a tag. So let's add 2 of them. We're going to call this one right grabber. Save. Call this one left grabber. Save. Okay, so let's go to our left grabber. We're going to tag it. Left grabber. And let's go to our right hand. Find the grabber. We're going to call that right grabber. Okay. I think that is it. I think that's all she wrote. Let's check our scenes one more time. Save. Okay, let's go to our start scene. Cube. It's loaded there. We're going to scene 1. Let's go to scene 1. Cube. Everything's out of there. Go to scene 2. Okay. Scene 2. Cube. Load scene 1. Okay. I want to go back to my start scene one more time. Make sure that I've got my event system. Got do not destroy on here. Okay, let's jump into VR and see what happens. Okay, we got our UI. Oops, that's what we forgot. Okay, let's go into our scene 1. Go into scene 1, go to our cube, and make it a trigger. Let's go into scene 2, save, cube, make it a trigger. Go back to the start scene, save. Okay, dang. Alright, now let's try it. Remember, this is the scene that you won't be returning back to. This will be your start scene, a small room or whatever, and you walk through, go in. Guess I could have put that keyboard in a little bit better of a spot. Alright. The UI still works. Okay, so I'm now walking in somewhere or walking out of somewhere. I walk into a trigger. We're now in our next scene, which I must have put the doors on opposite sides. But anyway, you get the idea. UI still works. Into it, and we're back in scene 1. Teleport still works because of our line renderer not getting destroyed. Alright. Our console, the only thing we got is the normal stuff from kinematic bodies on one of the guns. And we are good to go. I will leave the scripts in the description like usual. I hope you found this informative, and thanks for joining.